Alrighty, so face cam for some reason isn't working. This is probably going to be a long video, so strap in, boys. Yes, you've read that correctly. I've watched the entirety of the MCU series, MCU saga, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I've watched all the movies from start to finish based on Disney Plus. And I used a little bit of Reddit to like really get the organization of which order to watch the movies. This is specifically movies, not the shows. I haven't watched all the shows yet. I'm getting through Daredevil now. But yeah, I've watched all the MCU movies from start to finish in timeline order, not release order. I'm going to be ranking them, and this was better than I thought, okay? I'll say this, just to get it out of the way. No, I don't read comics. My Marvel affiliation is some of the games from when I was a kid. I played, like, a top-down game I can't remember of, like, X-Men, even though it's not really MCU related, and I played a Wolverine game on the PlayStation when I was young. Outside of that, I really have no affiliation with the Marvel movies, or the Marvel universe. The movies, I've watched some of these as a kid, but it's like maybe 5 or 6 of these movies that I've seen before going into this, and it took me about 6 months to watch every single Marvel movie here. And yeah, I'm gonna be going through, this is like pretty much opinion, but I do want to say, like, it's relative, like, I think they're good movies, and if I think they're good movies, they're going to be put accordingly, you know? Or if I think it's a perfect movie, I'll put it accordingly. Obviously, I have my own, like, bias, I guess, based on preference of movie. But yeah, I'm going to try to be as, like, I'm going to try to come at it as, like, if I was fresh-minded and I was looking for a Marvel movie to watch, how would I rank this if I was a first-time watcher? Yeah, that's pretty much how it's gonna go. So yeah, a large portion of these I've never seen before, until until I started the MCU timeline. So this will be interesting. Overall, better than I thought. Would recommend. Yeah, did I start watching them because of the Escape podcast? Maybe. Okay. But I also wanted to rewatch some of the ones from my childhood, like The Incredible Hulk. I'll spoil that one. Fond memory of this movie, so it's gonna get ranked pretty high. Tier list is at the top. We have perfect 10 out of 10. So I think there is maybe at most like 2 or 3 minor problems you can have with the movie. Outside of that, I think it's pretty close to fucking perfect. Obviously nothing's ever perfect. There's always something you would like to attune. Great example, love Andor, one of my favorite Star Wars show of all time. I do think the pacing could have been a little bit better in season 2, but season 2 is fucking amazing. It's a 10 out of 10 show. I just think the pacing could have been a little bit better. There's some plot points that could have been fine-tuned, like with the guy who ends up passing away. I can't remember his name. It's not Cecil. It's something. It's like I can't remember. Spoilers, I guess. Regardless, that's what I mean. So in my eyes, there's nothing that can be 100% perfect, but in the perfect category, it's going to be pretty fucking close, okay? They're going to be 1 out of 1 uniqueness, I guess. Yeah, unique feelings or types of movies are probably going to rank a little bit higher. I'm a big fan of unique movies. Some of these movies follow like a safe plot line. Others will follow something very different, which we'll get into. A little teaser right there. But you know, for people out of the loop, or yeah, I'm ranting a little bit. You know, break down the tier list. Perfect 10 out of 10. So fucking good. It's an 8 out of 10 or above. Probably gonna rewatch it at some point. They're pretty fucking good. I don't see how anyone can basically like be negative after watching that movie. Again, another clarification. I should actually probably mention none of these were in theater. I've heard theaters kind of amplify the effect of the movies. I haven't seen a single one of these in theaters. Anyways, this is all in the basement, grinding away, watching some movies. But yeah, so fucking good. 8 out of 10. And then we have would rewatch 5 out of 10, basically average or above average. So this is like 5 out of 10 to the 7.9 out of 10, if you will. Watchable, there's gonna be a few in this tier that I can think of, where if it's on, I'd watch it. If I had a 5-year-old kid, maybe I'd turn it on for them just so they could understand the characters. Other than that, probably not going out of my way getting a Disney Plus subscription and fucking watching it, or yoinking it off a family member slash friend. And then in the very bottom tier, we have Rise of Skywalker. If you're unfamiliar, Rise of Skywalker is by far one of the worst films I've ever watched, in my personal opinion. So anything in this tier, I would deem it that bad, aka 1 out of 10. I mean, that's pretty, actually lower than 1 out of 10. Rise of Skywalker is truly a dog shit fucking movie. Pissed me off. If you'd like to see my Star Wars rankings, feel free to check out the channel. Shameless plug now over. Let's get into the tier list here. We're nearly, what, 5? Oh, god damn, we're 6 minutes in. Yeah, this is going to be a long one, all right? So I'm going to try to keep this in order. I tried to get the thumbnails properly. You'll notice some Spider-Man movies here. I incorporated it because I know it's not fully, like, technically MCU, the Garfield and Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, but I put it here anyways. I think I'm actually missing Far From Home, or maybe I'm missing No Way Home. Fuck. Alright, give me a minute. And we are back. Alright, technical difficulties dealt with. I've added Tom Holland Spider-Man. Alright, so let's just get into this. Yeah, we're gonna start with the first Avenger. Most of this is gonna be Disney Plus timeline order. I'm gonna try to keep this in the timeline order, which is where I watched it from. Captain America: First Avenger genuinely is pretty fucking good, man. This movie's a banger, all right, and I know bangers. Okay, yeah, this movie's great. I really thought going into this, I'm like, oh, great, I'm gonna have to watch a fucking World War fucking movie. Oh, great, haven't seen these a million times. But the way they actually did the Red Skull reveal, and I'm assuming this is a little bit older. I don't know the age off the top of my head. I think I remember seeing this as a kid, but I didn't have any recollection. I couldn't remember it, okay, when I watched it. So going into it, it was kind of like fresh. And seeing like skinny boy Steve Rogers really want to protect his country and everything, sign up for the super soldier serum. Pretty good. By the way, spoilers ahead. If you're watching a ranking video on movies and you don't want to be spoiled, what the fuck are we doing? Go ahead and watch the MCU timeline. All right. Anyways, but yeah, the first Avengers is pretty good. I thought the pacing was pretty good. The only like critique is like they really speed ran him sort of being used for propaganda instead of him being like actively in combat, so it was kind of hard to gauge that. Like how he basically went from oh, he's the poster boy to being fucking this guy is just the best military operative there is. Now, that obviously has to do with the super soldier serum. You can make an argument it probably enhances brain in terms of combat and pattern recognition and all that shit for fighting. So I think it's fine. I think it would have been a better start to the movie as well if they didn't start off with the glacier and then you see the shield. I think starting it in the World War II era and then being a plot twist at the end where it's like, oh shit, he just went down with the plane. Well, that was a great movie, but sucks, sometimes the heroes just don't always win. And then you see at the after credit the fucking him getting wheeled out of the ice. I think that would have been better personally. Other than that, though, I really do enjoy this movie. I would definitely rewatch this movie. The Bucky, friend, he was present. I'd like for him to be a little bit more present. You got to see Iron Man's dad. Yeah, it's overall a great movie. Like, I really don't see how you can watch this and get, like, upset or bored, to be honest with you, because it's very moment to moment in the middle section. Um, and even after that, like the whole Red Skull reveal, the whole Hydra, everything going on with that, I thought was all fantastic. The scientists not really wanting to work with them, and it ties really well with the other movies. One thing very unique to the MCU movie, which in my opinion does a little bit better than something like the Star Wars series, where the 6 films, well, 9 films, I guess, all correlate with each other. But the other ones, like the Mando and Grogu movie and Rogue One, and a few others. Like, yeah, there's elements of like teasers for kind of what happens in the Star Wars main timeline, but because the timeline already has 9 movies and all these other movies are kind of like filling in those gaps, it really does sort of upset the balance with the connectivity. But watching it in order like this was very nice because I was able to be like, oh, I remember that from this, and this and that. So I really enjoyed this movie. I think it ties well with the other movies. Yeah, overall, just a great movie. We gotta move on. There's a lot of movies we gotta get through here. Captain Marvel. Initially, I was like, this is not great. Okay, this was not what I enjoy. Um, would I rewatch it? Probably not. It is watchable though. Like, it's not a bad movie. The jokes are funny. Um I forget when this movie came out. I want to say this is more recent, like or like late 2018, 2019-ish. I want to say it's that range. I could be off on that, but this just felt like the comedy, like first Avengers felt like a real military, serious shit going on. With the plane going down the Tesseract, I think it was, or whatever it was. Hydra, Nazi Germ, like, dude, there was a lot of serious tones in this, and then just go from that to oh, they're fucking Superman from space, and there's a cat that's not a cat, but it looks exactly like one. And Nick Fury gets his badass scar because he was being an idiot. Like, there's a lot of not greatness about Captain Marvel that was way too jokey for me. I thought overall the plot twist was pretty obvious, where the ones she started out with were actually the bad guys. I think that's fine. I think the camouflage people are fine. There's some fine moments in this movie. Would I watch this if I had a kid? Maybe. I'm not rewatching this out of like my own free will. We're gonna move on. Iron Man 1. This movie's so fucking good. Holy, this movie's so good. And it only ages better as you watch more of the movies. I've always been a fan of Mark 1. I don't know if my understanding from Mark 1 is the welder suit he's in when he escapes. I think that's sick as fuck. That was that kick-started me fucking being into army men when I was young. I remember that vividly, and then after that, I kind of sort of phased it out as a kid. But rewatching it, seeing the serious tones where, he just blatantly says he's Iron Man, where he's just fucking, he's the man in this movie. Like, he's actually badass as fuck. And he goes from like a Nepo baby rich boy to like, I'm my own man. I'm smart as fuck. And I'm strong as fuck. And I can I can make a difference. I think this was the movie where he fucking whips out that little wrist missile too and fucking explodes the tank. So many cinema moments. The music, like, oh, this movie's so fucking good. I wouldn't say it's perfect. Um, the villain was cool. The plot twist was great. I don't really I don't fear the villain, I'm a big villain guy. So good villains will typically be a little bit higher on this list than others. The villain for me was cool, but he wasn't threatening. Is he the best Iron Man villain? Probably. Is it the best, like, is it top 5 villains in the MCU? Probably not. And I would rewatch this movie. No problem rewatching it. It's a little bit of a slow start, I'd say. But it cooks up pretty well. So I would say this movie's so fucking good. I'd say it's 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Like, this movie's really good. And I was surprised because there's a lot of times where I think old movies suck, and then I rewatch them, and I'm like, wow, this was a fucking gem. This is way better than the shit I just saw. Uh, by the way, I'm not really a big movie guy. I'll watch a couple movies a year. Not a big movie guy. We're gonna normally. So this was a fucking mission for me personally. We're gonna move on. Iron Man 2 comes right after Iron Man 1. Now, a lot of people, I imagine, put this in would rewatch and a 5 out of 10 is what I'm referring to. I personally think this movie's pretty good. Now obviously I mentioned Escape Podcast earlier. Shout outs to them. They're a great podcast. But I do think Iron Man 2 is kind of slept on. I really think it's not that bad. Listen, Whiplash, I think is the name. Not a great villain. Um, I think he had aura at the start when he showed up at the racetrack, nearly killed Iron Man, um, Tony Stark. But I don't think he was done well. Like in the when he was introduced, it was cool, and at the very end, it was cool. Everything between that, it was pretty shit. It's like you didn't really, they try to like make him Play-Doh, like he kind of fits everywhere. You can't really do that with a villain like him, you know? Sort of like wants revenge on Iron Man, is really smart, has a weird thing with pigeons, and then doesn't really care. It's really, they try to do everything with that villain, and the villain really brings this movie down. As a Iron Man movie, though, I think it's great because you get to see him start caring about shit. Because after Iron Man 1, he's the man. In the beginning of Iron Man 2, it's like he's the man, but he knows he's gonna die soon, and he has no way of fixing it. He has no fucking clue. He's gonna die because of the shit he suffered in Iron Man 1. And he's just fucking balls to the wall, partying all the time, not really caring about what happens, throwing money here, basically like fucking thinking he's above everyone else, and you start to see him get humbled real quick, with the Whiplash situation and a few others. But you get the Iron Patriot in this as well, which is a great addition. Love Iron Patriot. I think War Machine, I think is what he was called. Iron Patriot, I think is the third one. But yeah, I think personally, Iron Man 2, the character development you see where he's like figuring out his drinking problem, figuring out that he needs to care about the people around him, and realizing like he's got shit to live for and that he should try to live and not just focus on fucking, you know, drinking that last bottle. I think is really good for his character development, and it was a lot better than I remembered. I tried to watch all these movies pretty blind without hearing anything from the Escape podcast or any other opinions from other people. And then once I've watched it, I'd ask my boys who are into Marvel, like, "Oh, what'd you think about this film? What'd you think about Thor? What'd you think?" So I like having those discussions personally. We're gonna move on. Speaking of Thor, we have Thor. This movie's fucking great, bro. I listen. Here's the fucking thing. I really fuck with Thor. You're gonna see that this movie's like very high in my heart. In the beginning of Thor, he's like an angsty teen. He's like, I want power, give me everything. I want king, give me throne. Ooga booga, I am strongest. He thinks he can just run this shit, and he gets fucking humbled, you know? His dad's basically, no, 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 no. You get this back when you earn it, all right? Pushes him to the human world. I think that's a fantastic plot line for a fucking god, all right? Basically just Hercules 2.0. Gets sent to the human world, and this is probably one of the only times in the whole MCU where being cringe really worked well for Thor. He's supposed to be cringe. He's from a different realm. He's a fucking god, and now he's with these peons that don't even hold a candle to his strength. Of his former strength, I'd say. They ain't even close to his age. He's been around for eons. Like this is what I imagine a god would act. Smashing the plates and being all weird with the way he talks, and creeping some people out. Like I think that makes a lot of sense. And when he starts learning, like, oh shit, I'm not the man anymore. I need to like actually abide by what the world is sort of built upon. The government and everything like that. I need to actually follow the rules. I need to not just be ooga booga power hungry. I think it was a great plot point, and him realizing the importance of loving another person or caring for another person. I thought was perfectly done. Loki plot twist, the big one of the biggest, maybe top three, jaw drop moments for me was finding out Loki was a blood brother of Thor. Okay, when I found out in 2026 that Loki wasn't the blood brother of Thor, and I've been playing fucking Marvel Rivals, my jaw was dropped. All right, I was like, holy shit, are you serious? He's half frost giant. Like that genuinely shocked me. Great plot twist. I thought it was fantastic. Loki as a villain, easily one of the best villains. If this was like a villains ranking, dude, this movie, oh my, oh, Loki is fantastic. Haven't watched the show, heard good things. Loki in the MCU's phenomenal. Literally like one of the best villains of all time. I'd say, he's up there. He's definitely up there. Top 10, top 15, maybe even higher if I really thought about it, but he's definitely up there. And when you're comparing these two movies, I really like character development. I would say both of them probably have close to equal character development. But Thor actually does have the better villain. Maybe that's a hot take. Loki's one of the best villains. The final fight isn't anything crazy for two gods because it's kind of like hand-to-hand combat. The fake out death is obviously like, oh well, he comes back. But this kind of sets up a lot of the MCU timeline, you know? This sets up some major villains. I really fuck with Thor. I think it's great. I'd say it's like a 9. Honestly, if I could, I'd put it at the same tier as Iron Man. I'm gonna put it ahead just because of the villains so much better. Um, yeah, I fuck with it heavy. Incredible Hulk, I fuck with. It's not like I'll rewatch it. The intro is a little long. The relationship dynamic is a little odd, but outside of that, the fights are sick. The CGI is great. The Incredible Hulk is sick and terrifying. The fucking fight scene where he's fighting the military and the cars are coming at him, the abomination, all of it I think is absolute peak cinema. It's just a little nooks and crannies here and there that aren't really good. You know, him doing fucking yoga and breathing exercises. That stuff takes a little too long in the beginning, and it starts in Rio for a random reason. Really odd things. But it is what it is. It's one of those things where it's like an odd choice. But it ends up working really well in the end. By the end of the movie, I thought was fantastic. This is a little bit weird because technically this isn't like it's a canon event, but with different actors. It's a weird thing. But I'm gonna include it as canon personally. Just because it's sick. I think it is the best Hulk. Maybe like Age of Ultron, little spoiler, has a little bit better of a Hulk. I think this is the best Hulk personally. Incredible Hulk, my personal favorite. So he gets bonus points for that. He'll probably be the very end of this 8 out of 10 tier. But yeah, we're gonna move on. Really? It's already here, huh? Wow. The Avengers. I mean, it's a damn near perfect movie. The pacing, phenomenal. The characters, phenomenal. The dialogue, phenomenal. Like, it's just cinema. Like, I don't know what else. I could watch this endlessly. Like, it is fantastic. There is this was my first time. Like, okay, I've watched to some extent these movies when I was a kid. I had no idea Avengers slapped this hard. I watched like the animated kids fucking like where Ultron takes over the world and fucking the kids of the Avengers have to take. I remember watching that as a kid. I didn't remember watching this. When I heard lines like we need a plan of attack and he's like I have a plan, attack. Oh, jumps out the ship. God damn. It's on site with Thor. Like holy cinema. Loki, fantastic. The dialogue between him and Natasha. Oh my cinema. Every part of this movie is fucking phenomenal. The only thing I'd change is maybe have Hawkeye do something cool in the beginning before getting absolutely fucking mind controlled. Outside of that, absolute cinema. No look arrow, fucking puny god moment. Like, dude, like, oh, it's so good. The Avenger Tower fight, like the Chitauri. Oh my god, like just everything was so good about this movie. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Thor: Dark World coming right after Avengers in terms of timeline. Another hot take. Another hot take. Listen, you're gonna find out some surprising things in this tier list about some of the movies that a lot of people revere. Okay, um, I've had a lot of talks with friends. They don't really like this movie. I really like this movie. Now, let me just say this. As a Star Wars person, okay, Thor Dark World for me, it has a little bit of that Star Wars element, you know? It has the betrayal hand cut off. It has laser fight at the beginning with the ships that look like fucking desert skiffs. It has a lot of Star Wars. It has ships from the fucking what's his name, Malekith, I think his name is Malekith, using the fucking B wings basically, but like dark elf, I guess. Um, I would have liked a little bit more explanation on things personally. I thought the movie was very colorful. When I hear a lot of people talk about this movie, it's typically like, dude, it's boring, it's dry. I can't relate. You get Asgard, you get the fucking Red Crystal Realm, you get like basically the only dark parts are when the Dark Elf is talking, and that's not a lot of the movie. Malekith didn't really get a lot of time to cook. This was kind of like a revenge story. Final fight, I thought was also really well done. In terms of incorporating comedy with a serious tone of like, oh shit, world's getting fucked, where everything's teleporting and realms are converging, I think was the plot point. I thought it was really interesting the way they incorporated the hammer getting teleported and then Thor would get teleported, and everything was sort of it incorporated that randomness to where the hero needs a little bit of luck, otherwise he's fucked. So I thought that was an interesting concept. I really liked this movie because of Thor 1 and where Thor 1 ended. Thor 1 ended where he realized he wasn't a child anymore and he needed to grow up. Thor 2, it was him building leadership material, and sometimes you gotta bite the bullet. Sometimes you gotta work with people you don't really want to. This is kind of like him realizing, like, watching Thor 1 is like him growing up to be a teenager, and then Thor is him growing up to be an adult. And I love that. I thought it worked very well. The mother died, sacrifices had to be made. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic the way they did his character development, where he needed to work with Loki, guy he really didn't want to work with, but he had to. He had to bend some rules in order to save Asgard. There's a lot of great things about Thor: The Dark World that I feel like a lot of people have forgotten. I was thoroughly impressed with this movie. Um, Personally, I was shocked to find out that this was one of the more hated movies. Personally, we're gonna move on though. It's a little bit better than Incredible Hulk. Yeah, I'd put it here. I'd put it here. I think it's like an 8.5, I'd say. We're going to move on. Iron Man 3. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm remembering the timeline as I go here. Iron Man 3 is a banger. I put it above Captain America. The end scene is fantastic. When he summons all the suits, fantastic. The build up, my only issue with Iron Man 3, every Iron Man sort of had its message. Tony needing to be his own person instead of just a rich fucking pansy, right? That was Iron Man 1. Iron Man 2, realizing that life is worth living and that he's got to protect the ones he cares about, similar to Thor. And that whole arc, he's got friends he needs to care about. He's not this invincible god. Iron Man 3 was very much almost a reset of 1 where it's like he's at that high where he's practically invincible because of all the tech and everything he's doing. And he always catches people on things they're trying to get him for, with the owning the weapons company and all this other shit. But in Iron Man 3, he sort of builds into realizing he's more than the suit, I guess is the best way to say it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it does make sense by the end of it. He builds into just being like, yeah, Iron Man's the suit. Yeah, I can use all these gadgets and technology and everything. But when he loses the suit and he's back to square one, it's almost like a humbling where he's like, oh yeah, this is how like reality is. I thought his dialogue with the kid was fantastic. Uh, there was one scene I remember vividly where it was like he's in the garage and he's like, "Oh, where are your parents?" And he's like, the kid's like, "Oh yeah, my dad must have won the lottery because he left about like 10 years ago or whatever the line was." And then Iron Man just looks at him and is like, "Yeah, everyone has daddy issues. Don't need to brag about it. So I thought dialogue like that was great. I thought the watch gimmick was cool. I thought him getting all the tools and everything, fighting those agents was cool. I thought the superhuman aspect was interesting. And I love the idea of all the suits and everything, you know? He got very addicted to making his suits, and I think that was where the power hungry sort of crept in for him in Iron Man 3. And then he realized by the end of it, like, yeah, that's taking up a large portion of his life, and it's just a means to an end. It's almost like an addiction, I guess, just making a million suits. Would it have been useful future on? Yeah. But he ended up having a pretty good ending towards or he ended up having a good ending at the end with Pepper Potts and building the relationship with her. This was more of like an Iron Man and Pepper Potts movie than an Iron Man 3 sort of thing, because it was more about him trying to get the girl and realize, like, sometimes sacrifices have to be made for a relationship. Sometimes shit like that. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going off on tangents. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought cinematic wise it was great. Mandarin plot twist was a little goofy, but I thought worked pretty well. I thought humor wise it was pretty good. The main villain being fucking looks maxing because he didn't get a handshake or something at the top of the roof was a little silly, but I think it's a fine thing to have if you just need a force of villain for Iron Man to fight. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good movie. Maybe I'll bump it below Captain America, First Avenger. I think I will. Moving on. Winter Soldier, I believe this is. I'm not that high on Winter Soldier. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people have this as like their one of one, or like top 5 MCU movie. Dude, it is kind of boring. I'll be honest. Listen, GSP's in it. I'm a UFC guy. I'm a Canadian guy. That's my G. It's really bland in the beginning, man. Like, to go from these gods and fucking Iron Man suits and fucking Incredible Hulk and like laser fighting, and then like just a reg going on a ship and being just barely able to beat a regular dude in GSP. I know he's the greatest UFC combat sport athlete of all time, guys, but shout out Canada. But it is just one of those things where it was such a drastic like power D scale that it took me a little bit to sort of lock in. And then with how he's a super soul, like Captain America's fighting alien Chitauri, Captain America's fighting fucking Loki, a demigod or a god. And then he's struggling with just regular dudes sometimes. Like, I don't know. The elevator scene I think was in this movie, which is good, I guess. I think that scene gets overglazed. It's a fine scene, I guess. I don't like the relationship between him and Natasha because I thought they were really leaning towards Hulk and Natasha, which they do later on. But then in this movie, they're building the. It's really weird. That left a sour taste in my mouth. One great plot point was the fake out death with Nick Fury. Was not expecting that. That shocked me. That had my jaw on the floor for a little bit. After that, the movie started getting better, but I think the first half of the movie is like a fucking 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10. Nah, maybe a 5 out of 10, but I would say the second half gets much better. 8 out of 10. I really didn't care about Bucky, I'll just be honest. Maybe it's the fact that every time I see him punch, I think, again, from Marvel Rivals, and I just have PTSD from when I played that game, but I don't know. I really didn't feel threatened by Bucky. He stopped the shield, but overall, his adamantium arm or whatever it is didn't really do shit throughout the movie. They had a fight here and there. It wasn't like that crazy in terms of fighting. There was some good moments in it, some great telegraphs or choreography, I should say. Other than that, I mean, it was okay at the end when they both sort of saved each other. The Bucky PTSD thing was okay, but I don't know. There's a lot of okay aspects of the movie, in my opinion, and only a few really good moments. So I'm gonna leave it in would rewatch, but I don't like. I'd rewatch it if somebody asked, but I don't know. I'm not that high on it, to be honest with you. Well, a lot of okayness from the movie, which isn't bad. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I think it's definitely the weakest of what's above it so far. We're going to move on. I think all the movies above it have at least one much higher peak moment. We're gonna move on. Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna put it at the top of It's So Fucking Good. This is like a 9.5 out of 10 movie. Everything about it was great. Um, I did watch the Guardians of the Galaxy movies before starting to play Marvel Rivals, which is when it released. Don't remember when. I think that was like a year 2025, 2024, end of 2024, something like that. I can't really remember. But regardless, I rewatched it. I was locked in. Um, it was pretty good. Ronan was a lot better than I remember him being, the villain. Um, the jokes were pretty good. The way they sort of, when I first watched it like a couple years ago, I was sort of like, dude, this ragtag team kind of got put together and forced it like fucking mashed together really quick. When I rewatched it, it was an adequate pace, and I thought the pacing was pretty good. Love the prison break scene. There's a lot of things to love about this movie. I think it just did so well with like nothing, you know. None of these characters were shown in any of the movies. None of them had like a clear backstory, and they all worked so well for the movie. It kind of felt like this kind of felt like what a Borderlands movie should have felt like, which sort of hits home to me. Maybe I'm biased towards the Guardians of the Galaxy because it feels like a Borderlands movie, or what should have been like a Borderlands movie. Instead of hunting a stone, it would have been hunting a vault key, if you get that reference. We're going to move on. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I struggle to put this any lower than the first. I love Guardian of the Galaxy 2. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. I thought I might even put it here. I'll be honest, man. Maybe like the lowest out of the perfection. Um, but yeah, let me change this to a 9.9, I guess. You know, because it is damn near perfect. Only thing I didn't like is some of Drax's jokes and the ripe fruit joke. Outside of that, man, dude, all of these characters were fantastic. Ego, I thought, was a great villain. The plot twist where he gave fucking the tumor to Peter Quill's mother. Oh my god, the fucking Ravagers with Rocket and Yondu. Yondu's one of the greatest characters in the MCU, in my opinion. I thought he was done so well. He had so much aura in the first, and in the second one, he just had such a deep depth character development, with him not even like surviving at the end. Ego's fight I thought was great. Mantis was a pretty good character. Cringe, but this is another example of when like cringe works. Man, it was great. It was so fucking good. Yeah, love the movie. We're gonna leave it up there. We're gonna move on. Age of Ultron, The Avengers. If this was just on how much I like the movie, because I love Ultron and the voice acting was fucking phenomenal for Ultron. Now, I know, I get the context. He's not a fucking an Iron Man villain that was made from Jarvis. He's originally an Ant-Man, and then they had Ant-Man just after this movie, which doesn't make sense. I get it. And if you wanted Ultron to be so much more powerful, a lot of the arguments I hear is like, oh, well, Ultron needed to be a bigger threat because of how he is in the comics and shit. That's some of the arguments my friends make. Dude, he was gonna extinct the planet. He was making a meteor to extinct the planet. That's pretty fucking cataclysmic. What I love about the Avengers is that it cooked up in proper power scaling. First movie, it was a city. Second movie, it was the planet. Third movie, it was the fucking half the galaxy. Fourth movie, similar situation, right? We'll get into those ones, but I fuck with Age of Ultron heavy. The comparisons he had with Tony Stark and how he was executing the plan. You know, he got the right answer, but he had the wrong work shown. You know what I mean? Which resulted in him nearly killing everyone. The symmetry quote where he's in the church so that everyone could be closer to God. Oof, I'm not even a God worshipping man, and that hit hard. Like, there's a lot of things to love about it. Obviously, there's that goofy moment during the fight scene where Hawkeye throws his bow at an Ultron drone like a moron. But outside of that, like, I mean, Quicksilver being in it, Scarlet Witch being introduced, I thought were fantastic. The way they were outsmarted by adequate level comp. Oh my god, the fucking Friday scene with Hulk. Like, oh god, this movie's so good. This movie's so good. This is one of the movies that had probably the most amount of stuff happen, the Natasha arc with Hulk. And I felt like personally the pacing was great. I've heard some people call it clunky. I've heard some people call it a little too fast and it kind of like speed ran a lot. I thought it was fucking great. America, like slightly picking up that hammer. Obviously, that leads into some future stuff. Dude, there's so many things to like about this movie. I loved it personally. It was great. Vision being made. Like, whoo, this shit means something to me, man. I'm oh, man, I'm really high on this movie. I'm gonna put it here. This is a 9-8 movie, in my opinion. I really fuck with the Avengers hard. Age of Ultron. I really fuck with it hard. We're gonna move on. Ant-Man. This is the definition of a solid movie. I thought Ant-Man from top to bottom was really good. Really good. There was no peak moment that jaw dropped me. There was no moment that bored me. There was no moment where I was like, holy shit, can we just fucking hurry up? Other than maybe his one brown friend who constantly talks about fucking his stories. I can't remember his name. Other than him, I thought everything about the movie was good. It was a solid 7 out of 10. Probably the definition of like a solid 7 out of 10 movie. This will probably remain at the top, close to the top of this 5 out of 10 section here. We're going to move on. Black Widow. I think it's the worst MCU movie. Spoiler. I think it's the worst MCU movie. CGI I thought was terrible. Storyline I thought was pretty bad. Uh Dude, do I put it here, man? Fuck. Oh, the acting was really bad. Like Yelena in this movie, which if you don't know, she's part of a future movie. Her acting in this movie was really bad. Every time she would like throw a punch, it was like she was fucking pissed off at everything, and her facial expressions were just way too exaggeratory. It's the same thing with most of the characters. Red Guardian was so cringe in this movie, like so badly cringe, talking about peeing on himself and shit. Like, oh man, a lot of this movie is really bad. A lot of the plot points weren't great. Um, very confusing. Task ma ta yeah, Taskmaster. I think I said his name right. Uh, Pretty cool idea, executed very, very poorly. There's pretty much no way they should have lost. The very end, like explosion when the ship blew up, like it was just bad. The villain was bad. The plot twist was bad. Like everything about this movie was kind of like bad, and not like a. Is it Rise of Skywalker tier? Nah, that's kind of insulting. It's not the worst thing, but it's definitely the worst MCU movie, I'd say. We're gonna move on. Civil War, pretty good. This is an interesting one. Yeah, I'd put it here. I think it's just slightly not as good as Captain America because it was Cap First Avenger, because that was like a coherent story. Civil War, I think it's supposed to be a Captain America movie, like in terms of Captain America 1, 2, 3. Civil War I think is supposed to be the third. Listen, Civil War is not a bad movie. Like Civil War as a movie, if I didn't have context of everything and I just knew these as superheroes, genuinely I probably put it like up here. I really think this being a part of the MCU actually hurts it. And the reason why I think that is that it being a Captain America movie and the whole movie is just basically Steve Rogers being like, "Yeah, but what about Bucky, bro? But what about Bucky? Like, are we just gonna leave Bucky hanging? Come on, bro. Like, I get it, he's your teammate, dude. That was 100 years ago. You gotta fucking grow up. You know what I mean? Like, you have a fucking family and a team right there. You've been with them longer at this point than you've been with fucking Bucky. You know? So, I really don't get why he's just such a simp for the Winter Soldier. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was really weird. And I thought the idea with them needing to be sort of checked under like government, otherwise they'd fucking cause problems or whatever as heroes. I thought that was a fine concept because there was casualties in the beginning, and it was caused by the heroes. at the end of the day, because they couldn't prevent it completely, where you could make the argument the government could have had a sort of secret op be able to neutralize them without as much casualties. Like, there's the argument there from the government side. I was Team Iron Man personally. I think they all should have signed it for the reasoning of, I think it's highly, highly probable they could get away with secretly helping out as like this secret Avengers instead of maybe adhering to the thing, because that's just on paper. And you're telling me Iron Man's gonna adhere to fucking on paper government rules? I don't think so. I think Iron Man, the way he's been built up through Iron Man 1, 2, 3, I think he's perfectly capable of developing some sort of way to protect and serve as like a hero without the government finding out, especially with how like incompetent the government at the time was. Um, yeah, I really don't see why they couldn't just sign the contract and secretly work. And eventually it was like this civil war between the Avengers. Cool idea, cool fight, great fight. Ant-Man going big mode, Spider-Man being introduced, fantastic. I thought those were all great. Um, but this is a Captain America movie, and it really feels more like an Iron Man movie. Like, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. If this was just a movie on its own, I'd really, really fuck with it. But the fact that it's like considered a Captain America movie and it's the context, the ending I like in terms of watching, but it doesn't make too much sense to me. Finding out, big spoiler, that Winter Soldier killed his parents, killed Tony Stark's parents, I think from Iron Man 1, 2, 3, he would have had the maturity to been like, okay, that sucks. That pisses me off, and I'll never forgive you, but I don't have to kill you. The fact that he's instantly to, dude, that was my mother, and he has to kill him now is a little fucked up. I think that doesn't align with who Iron Man has been built up to be. And while the fight was cool, and him copying the patterns and then fucking up Captain America, breaking the shield, I thought all that was cinema. I just don't like the build up to it, because I feel like that's not what they were alluding to with the build up. Like, I was shocked to see that, dude, you're gonna get this emotional? Like, dude, you're a fully grown man. You know, like, I get it. Your parents, like, this isn't like, oh, you just found out your parents died. Your parents have been dead. You just found out who did it. You know, you're not a fucking young teenager like Spider-Man finding out your parents died. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I thought it was really odd how they chose to go that route. Everything else I thought was great. Ant-Man being incorporated, Spider-Man, Vision being incorporated, Crippling, War Machine, shouts out the GOAT, War Machine, one of my favorite characters. I thought, if we were talking about like characters, I think War Machine's like near perfect. I thought he's one of the greatest best friends. He's the greatest B tier guy you can have on your team, in my opinion. You know, great friend, cracks some jokes, helpful to Tony's arc, great guy. We're gonna move on though. I think Civil War's good. I wish it made a little bit more sense. You know, the split, I get it. Um Between Captain America because he's a simp for Bucky, and between Iron Man because he just wants the best for his team. I really don't get the ending part. It kind of sits not great with me, but I'd rewatch it, no problem. Black Panther, great movie. Fucking great movie. We're gonna put it at the top here. I thought Black Panther was great. I think it's probably the best of would rewatch. The chase scenes were great. When he's in the suit, it's great. The only like weird part is him fighting Killmonger on the train or in the train tracks. That's the only weird part outside of every that and the fact that they had fucking like tribal hollow shields, like they're fucking Cabal phalanx. And then they just jumped over them. What the fuck's the point in the futuristic hollow shield if the people just jump over them? A little weird, but yeah, I'd say Black Panther's a great movie. Would rewatch. Fantastic. We're gonna move on. Doctor Strange. Little lower on this than I originally thought. First half of the movie is like probably somewhere up here. It's probably the first half of the movie. First half. I'd probably put right here. You know, 8 out of 10, 8.5, 8.7 in that range. The second half really lost me. We went from this guy's figuring out his powers. Okay, he's an egomaniac. Now he's got to get humbled because he actually can't do shit. And it has a lot of like great moments of character development where he realizes like, dude, sometimes you're just not able to fully fix the problem, you know? Sometimes you just got to move on to the next best thing. And for him it was magic. But for his glow up, he went from being a reg to not understanding anything about magic to within like 10-15 minutes to just beating the big bad guy pretty much. It wasn't the end guy, but it was the big bad guy of the movie. This guy who's, you know, he took the pages from the book and he's got this you know, magic, and he's hunting down all these other sorcerers, and he's killing all the sorcerers, and now he's coming for the sorcerer supreme or whatever the thing was. And Strange just beats him in a one because the cloak likes him. I get it's like, oh, well, he's going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme, blah, blah, blah. It's still just weak as fuck. Like, from what the movie was trying to do, like, he was texting while driving, fucked up, now he got humbled, now he's, like, scrounging to try to get any way to fix his problem. And then it's just like, oh, everything just lands back in his lap, you know? It's like if you watch the first half of Iron Man, or the first little bit of Iron Man where he's like this ego sort of nepo baby, and then he gets his character arc in Iron Man 1 where, you know, he figures out I need to be my own person, and then he's back to just being a nepo baby, and it's like, what the fuck are what the fuck are we doing? You know, this guy just gets everything handed to him. Figuring out the time thing with Domu or Mungambu or whatever the Magomu, I don't remember the guy's name, but figuring out that little time thing, I thought was a neat little trick. I thought that was cool. Outside of that, didn't really care. Yeah. For the second half. First half of the movie, great. Cinema, 8 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10, right? I just really didn't fuck with the second half of the movie, personally. We're gonna move on, though. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Slightly worse than Ant-Man 1. Yeah, I'd put it here. It's good, but at the end of the day, it is a cat and mouse chase the whole movie. Gets repetitive very fast. You start realizing like, dude, just fucking put the lab, just hold on to the lab, brother. Like, it can't be this hard. Ghost I thought was cool. I thought was really cool. I thought Ghost, design wise and concept wise, villain tier, I probably put top 10 in the MCU. I thought Ghost was sick. And that's just this Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's not including future things. So I really fuck with Ghost personally. Shout out all the big booty Latinas. But yeah, that's my personal take. I just think it's better than Doctor Strange in my opinion for sure, because the movie's consistent. Like, if Ant-Man 1 is a consistent 7 out of 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp is consistently a 6.5 with one or two moments being a 7 out of 10, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put it there. I think that's valid. We're going to move on. Avengers Infinity War. It is great. It is fucking fantastic. Oof. This is the problem, is that I really forget a lot of the middle of this. Cuz Endgame is where they go, This is just a fight where it's on. I'm gonna put it in perfect. It's close to perfect. The good guys lose in the end. The build up to everything's great. The only, like, remember when I said there's a few things you could critique? I really think it's dumb as fuck that, like, Peter Quill just sort of punches or tries to knock out fucking Thanos when he figures out what happened to Gamora, but because they literally would have won there. It would have been GG. However, upon watching it, like, blind, at first, I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. When you think about it, you're like, okay, that's really dumb. But at first, it's not the worst. It's not like one of the worst plot decisions in the entire MCU. It's just like, damn, you really had it right there and you fumbled the bag. Outside of that, I thought the pacing was really well done. Scene on Wakanda, there was the fight at Wakanda. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was really good. It was really good. I think personally, more emotional for me personally, was Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2. I nearly cried. There's 3 most emotional moments I've had in the MCU. I would say the most emotional, or no, second most emotional I've ever been was probably Volume 2. Um, like, I didn't get tears or anything for Infinity War, but it was up there. It had the impact it needed to land. It was great. I would rewatch it. But yeah, we're gonna move on. Endgame. This is going in the highest category, and I'll say this as someone who didn't watch the MCU timeline, knew nothing going into it. Understanding all the references, seeing all the characters come together, watching them fix the timeline, watching them get the Infinity Stones, watching them beat Thanos, watching the portal scene. I don't even need a theater. It is truly one of the most unique movie slash show. It's the most unique watching thing event you could ever have. You know, like imagine if you're watching all of these as like a show, and then this is like the finale. Oh my god, it is phenomenal, top to bottom. It's too long for me to break down in this. Maybe I'll break it down on its own thing, but this is already getting pretty long. This is getting fucking long. Um, Everything, top to bottom, from Endgame was fantastic. There wasn't a single moment where I was bored. Them going back in time, Iron Man having a kid and struggling with that, and oh my god, figuring out the fucking dimensional, and Thor having the chat with his mom that died. Like, oh, it was so fucking peak. It was so peak. The comedy hit. Like, every time it was supposed to be funny, it was funny. Every time it was supposed to be serious, it was serious. Every time it was supposed to be like this background understanding, or like this sort of pick up on these Easter eggs, it hit every single time. One of the biggest, one of the saddest moments I've been in the MCU timeline was watching Iron Man fucking do his snap, man. Watching him die was like, holy shit. I actually, like, obviously I've seen the Thanos memes. I didn't actually know Iron Man died. When I saw Iron Man die in this movie, I was genuinely jaw dropped. I was like, holy shit, they actually fucking did it. And when it got to the funeral, I was like, okay, this is emotional. I'm not gonna cry. I ain't no bitch. And then when it brought his daughter, and his daughter said, or his daughter was talking to Happy, and Happy's like, oh, you hungry? What do you want? And she's like, yeah, I'm hungry for some hamburgers. Oh my god, what a just a fucking throwback, man. Holy shit. That is my alarm. It is now midnight. Fuck. I need to hurry this up. But regardless, what a peak movie. One of the best movies I've ever watched. Just cinema. Obviously, this movie's elevated because of everything. Watching this alone, you would definitely have a shit time. Watching this alone without watching anything, you're probably putting it here because you don't understand shit. But watching everything and then watching Endgame is like, whoa. I see life under a different lens now. Holy fuck. Man, life is good. We're moving on. Shang-Chi, great movie. Not one of the greats, but it's a great movie. It's a solid movie to watch. Um, his girl best friend, I don't remember her name. Annoying as fuck, like 90% of the time. Um, Mandarin, kind of annoying. The dad I thought was cool. The final fight, the dragon fight was sick. If this was a final fight tier list, dude, oof, if this was a final fight tier list, let me tell you. But this is not. This is the whole movie. It built up very well into like the mystical arts and shit. The drastic change from him being like a dumb American to like, oh, I'm a locked in fucking Shang-Chi. It was a little odd, but it worked. It was a little weak. The sister arc I thought was great. The pit, you got to see Abomination. There was a lot of great moments. I think I'm gonna put it about here. Yeah, it's like an 8.5. It's like a 8.8, 8.9. You know, 8.5 ish. Yeah, it's up there. It's probably the same tier as Iron Man 2, I'd say. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Eternals. This is the lowest of so fucking good. It did a lot of things right. There was some weird stuff, very weird stuff. The gay Eternal who had a gay relationship with a son or whatever. It was kind of out of left field. It kind of caught me for a loop. And I'm not like a anti woke or whatever the fuck people be doing these days. I just thought it's like, dude, you're a mortal being. It's just like weird. You know, like them having a relationship with humans is weird, them having a relationship with same gender and having a kid that isn't theirs is also weird. Like, it's a weird on top of weird on top of weird. Like, it's very odd. Um, yeah, but it didn't like offset from anything. I thought the power aspect of everyone was cool. The explanation at the end of how they all were. I thought this movie was an 8 out of 10 throughout the whole movie. Everything was building up great. The powers, the betrayals, the disagreements amongst the group. When the Indian dude, forget his name, I apologize. He's probably the best looking Indian, one of the worst voices, but one of the best looking Indians I've ever seen. He went ahead and just dipped off the group at the end final fight. What the fuck? Imagine watching Into the Spider-Verse and Spider Noir or Penny is just like, yeah, I'm done here. I just don't care. Good luck, guys, and just leaves. Like, that's just dumb as fuck. I thought that was a dumb plot point. Bad guy who did all this betrayal and everything over these hundreds of years, thousands of years. Great concept, great plot twist. I didn't see it coming. When he basically at the end was beating them all, and then the reason how they beat him is that he just decided, you know what, you guys are right. And then he flew himself into the sun. One of the worst endings to one of the greatest plot twist villains I've ever seen. It was it was really bad. It was really, really bad. I don't know why the fuck you would do that with such a great villain. After all those thousands of years, hundreds of years of development and really thinking about like, oh, I'm the chosen one from the being that created us, and I'm gonna continue the cycle, and I remember the things, and blah blah blah, and I started this whole creatures coming out and evolving thing. Like, they really fumbled the bag on Eternals villains. I think if they kept Sentry, I think it wasn't Sentry. What was it? Ah, fuck. I don't remember his name. Icarus, I want to say. If they kept Icarus alive and they just made him fly off into space, I think that would have been better. And like the after credit scene relate to him and those weird guys, like the goblin guy that showed up out of nowhere and shit. I thought that would have been better. Would have liked to see the homie at the beginning that was smashing the Eternal keep that relationship, but unfortunately they had to end it because she had to go off planet. I would have liked to see that relationship develop similar to like Thor and yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Is this really the next one? Huh. I thought it was solid. I'll put it. Yeah. 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 I thought it was pretty good. I thought the dimension travel was good. After watching Doctor Strange 1 and a few of the other movies, you start to actually wait. Before we rank this, let's get into the Spider-Man movies. And let's just fucking speedrun this. Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man. I think this is Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 1, one of the best movies of all time, probably above Endgame. Second most emotional I've ever been after Uncle Ben. Spider-Man 2, didn't hit for me personally. I thought it was like the worst of most of the Spider-Man movies. It was just really boring, and I didn't like how Doc Ock had no attachment to Spider-Man whatsoever. In terms of like why he went after him, he kind of robbed the bank, and Spider-Man was just there, and he's like, just don't get in my way. And then he went to go do his own thing. And the only reason why he even had conflict with Spider-Man was because he was told to have conflict with him. Don't like that part. The plot twist with him and Harry, I thought was fine. Spider-Man 3, one of my favorite movies to watch. I will rewatch this movie like 100 times. I'm going to put it just below Avengers, just because Avengers is so jam-packed. I love everything about Spider-Man 3. Only things I didn't like about Spider-Man 3. Waiting. I wish it had more time. I was really trying to think, because I remember I had one problem with it, and I couldn't remember what it was. I wish it had more time. It really felt like it was trying to be two movies, with having Sandman, Venom, and a hobgoblin or whatever type of goblin fucking Harry was supposed to be. I thought Harry Osborn, if he was to be like his own hero, I thought that would have been fucking sick. I thought the Sandman parts were phenomenal. Thought they were great, fantastic. But yeah, I really fuck with Spider-Man 3 personally. I fuck with the Venom suit. I fuck you'll get your rent when you fix this goddamn door. I fuck with the whole movie. Other than Mary Jane, I want to say her name is. I think MJ, right? I got that right. Yeah, guys, I watched Spider-Man. Yeah, MJ, I just didn't really fuck with personally. I thought MJ in all the movies were bad. I thought in the first one it was good. Second one, I thought really dragged the movie down. Like she was really bad in that movie. Her existing and basically turning down Spider-Man when Spider-Man was ready, and then Spider-Man turning her down when he wasn't ready. I thought it was shit. It was just a bad dynamic. Them getting in relationships on and off. I thought it was terrible. Um, it was similar in the third one, but I really felt like the Harry versus Spider-Man was great, and the Sandman aspect was great. Yeah, fantastic. We're gonna move on to the Amazing Spider-Man 1, which is right here. Amazing Spider-Man 1 is about right for a definitionally uh okay movie. It's pretty okay. I'm gonna put it here, to be honest. I really like the way that they did the lizard. I thought the end part was dumb as fuck. Uh like where he broke his leg and he needed the society to help him out. I thought that was weird. When he got attacked at the school, I thought that was weird. But everything building up to that I thought was great. The Uncle Ben scene was also a severe downgrade because he kind of just wanted to double leg an armed robber. Also, why the fuck was that guy packing when he just took a 6-pack of beer? Like, brother, it ain't that serious. You're bringing a gun to get 6 beers? Like, god damn. I know inflation fucking hit us pretty hard, but it can't be that bad. Rent can't be that high, brother. But yeah, we're gonna move on. I think Homecoming was out at this point. Because Multiverse was during... Yeah, Multiverse was, like, just after all the Spider-Man stuff, I'm pretty sure. Homecoming was the Vulture scene is either the best or one of the best moments in all of the MCU. Him sitting down in the car from the moment where he opens the door to his prom date's dad and it's the Vulture and they sit in the car and then he leaves the car. That whole sequence is one of the best sequences in the entire MCU. Outside of that though, it's just a solid movie of Iron Boy Jr. and it's more of like an Iron Man teaching it's an Iron Man. It really is like an Iron Man teaching a Robin type of movie more than it is a Spider-Man movie, as they skipped a lot of the intro. So I'm gonna put it. It's better than it's better than Shang-Chi, I'd say. Better than Dark World's kind of. I think I'd put Dark World above personally. Oh, but that scene is so good. I'm gonna put Iron Man 3 below Dark World. Yeah, I like this more. We're gonna move on. What was the next one? Far From Home? Yeah, Far From Home. Another great Spider-Man movie. To be honest, this is just slightly worse than Homecoming. Yeah, this is just slightly worse than Homecoming. The action sequences, like, oh man, just another just great movie, man. There's so many good fucking movies. Holy shit. Just another really good movie, top to bottom. The beginning of him being in school and getting Iron Boy Jr. stuff, that was great, but this was more of an independent Spider-Man because he caused his problem, much like Iron Man, and he had to solve his own problem, much like Iron Man, and that had repercussions at the end of the movie, just like Iron Man. So I think this was a really good Spider-Man movie. I thought it was a great, like, I don't know who Mysterio is in terms of comics. I thought him having a fake world apocalypse was like a really cool idea. I thought that was a great idea. Fantastic idea. Very unique. So it gets bonus points for that. I would say it is just slightly worse than Homecoming because it doesn't have that S tier scene. It does have a great scene where Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is like faking out Spider-Man and he's fighting all the drones and shit. I thought that was great. Ned and MJ figuring out about Spider-Man, I thought was great as well. That relationship, I think, is the best Spider-Man relationship. Him and MJ in Far From Home is the best Spider-Man portrayed relationship, maybe outside of TASM 2, which I forgot to rank here. Fuck me. We're gonna rank TASM 2 now, right before we do the one where all of them are incorporated. TASM 2 is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies, and dare I say, not Endgame tier. Let's not get crazy. I'd put it, yeah, I put it here. I put it here personally. I really think TASM 2 is great. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Electro's theme, it's the best soundtrack of any villain I think I've ever fucking heard. Okay. When he's fighting Electro in the power area and Electro takes him, and every time he lands on a power column, it does the dun 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 dun. Oh, the feeling I got from that, I genuinely don't think drugs could ever replicate it. I could do a line of coke, I could inject a needle of heroin. It's not going to give me the same feeling I got when I heard that music play when they were fighting. Oh my cinema. All right. Um don't remember the actor's name. He's the guy who played fucking Mike Tyson in a Mike Tyson documentary. Something Fox. Can't remember his name. But the guy who played Electro, I thought did a fantastic job. I thought Spider-Man did an amazing Spider-Man job. The only critique of the whole movie I have is that Green Goblin's suit was ugly as fuck. The build-up between him and Green Goblin, I thought was fantastic. I thought him being separated from Harry from a young age, and then he goes on to build his company, and this guy goes on to be the fucking local hero. I thought that was fantastic. And the way the way it was revealed that the reason why he's Spider-Man is because his dad worked at Oscorp, and used his DNA for the spiders, and the reason why it didn't work for anyone in the first and second film is because it's his DNA and it worked for his son. I thought was fantastic. And the way he basically tried to explain that to Harry, or he needed to explain it to Harry without revealing that he's Spider-Man and he knows about the blood being his. I thought was great. I thought his dynamic between him and his best friend was fantastic. And the fact that Gwen died at the end, holy shit. Oh my god, that like genuinely made me sad. Not the most emotional, but or it made me emotional, but it didn't make me like cry or anything, but it was fucking wow, I didn't think they'd do that. The Rhino tease at the end left me wanting for more. Sad there wasn't a third one. It is what it is. We're going to move on to the very last Spider-Man, No Way Home. There's an argument. This is better than Endgame. For me, it was about, I think it was more emotional. MJ's death in this was genuinely, not MJ. Aunt May's death in this was, I think, the most emotional I was ever for a character in the MCU. Second, hold on. Second most, either most or second most. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I really fucked with the way they did that. Tom Holland became Spider-Man in this movie. I know it's like people try to use these arguments I've seen where, well, if you remove the other Spider-Mans, this movie's actually not that good. Why the fuck would you want to remove the other Spider-Mans? This movie's fantastic. Why the fuck would you ever want to do that? It's a Spider-Man movie with 3 different Spider-Mans. That's like saying, well, actually, if you remove the Beyond the Spider-Verse, or fuck, what's that movie called? Into the Spider-Verse. If you just have Miles Morales, then the movie's actually kind of bad. Why the fuck would you just want to watch it with just Miles Morales? The fact that it has the other Spider-Mans are such a sprinkle on top. It's fantastic. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Loved it. The dynamic between them, great. How Andrew Garfield talked about serious shit. How fucking... Why am I blanking on the other Spider-Man? I always remember his name. Whatever. From Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. Sam Raimi? Yeah, I can't remember. Regardless, that guy, okay, one of the greatest moments is when they're all talking with each other. You know, in the laboratory, they're talking about the best friend dying, alluding to fucking Ned. Like, oh my god, there's so many peak moments in No Way Home. The fact that he tries to fix all the villains, and every other person in the entire series has tried to beat the villains, is all so fascinating. Like, it's so cool. only critique is that he caused all the problems by complicating the spell. To be fair, that's more of a Doctor Strange critique because he was an idiot. Because apparently they do that all the time, but oh, this time it got complicated. Like, okay, buddy. Little weird thing that they just wipe memory constantly, but okay, whatever. Outside of that, everything was cinema, everything was peak. The highs were so high. The choreography at the end, where all of them were working together, was fantastic. Loved it. Peak cinema. Endgame tier. I'm gonna put it just below Endgame personally. I do still think Spider-Man 1 is the greatest movie, probably one of the greatest movies ever made, just because of how coherent it is, and you can just watch this, and it's fantastic start to finish. We're gonna move on though. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Fucked with it. It was okay. I think it's better than a lot of people think. It's better than a lot of people say. Scarlet Witch, I did watch WandaVision. I think maybe without WandaVision, I'd probably rate this a little bit lower. I did watch WandaVision before watching Multiverse of Madness. Made this movie a little bit better. Not crazy, much, not incredibly better, but it was better. Some of the mid parts were a little boring, so maybe I'll put it. I'd say it's worse than Shang-Chi. The end fight was cool. The CGI was bad. Shang-Chi at least had good CGI. We're gonna move on. Wakanda Forever. This was another one of those weird situation movies where I kind of respect what they were going for, where they were using villains that weren't really Black Panther villains and all this other shit. Definitely worse than the first Black Panther. That's without a doubt. Question is, yeah, where do I put this? Not above Winter Soldier. It's not above that. Yeah, I think I'm more okay with this. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'd rewatch, but dude, it was a long movie. Was that shit like 2.5 hours? Like, it felt fucking long, bro. Namor was. Everything was just fine in the movie. Like, Ant-Man was a 7 out of 10. Wakanda Forever is kind of consistently a fucking 5 out of 10. Like, maybe at the bottom. Yeah. I didn't fuck with the Ironheart suit. I didn't fuck with the Ironheart parts. Nothing new was done. Really. Nothing blew my socks away. The Queen died, I think. Like, I don't know. We're gonna move on. Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie, I think, is the best Guardians of the Galaxy. I do. Yeah, top to bottom, fantastic. The emotional hits, fantastic. The way it basically did everything from one, where it's a jumbled up crew, but did it better, had more in depth, and had a better villain, a more not. Was it more menacing? Not really, but there was more villains. Like, you had to worry about Adam Warlock at the beginning. You had to worry about the fucking foreskin face. Can't remember his name, but yeah, I thought it was one of the best movies. The rocket stuff, like everything about this movie is fantastic. Definitely got to rewatch it again soon. I'm probably gonna rewatch it. That's like my next rewatch. I think I'm gonna do if I'm rewatching an MCU movie. Quantumania, better than I thought, was much better than I expected. This felt like a Spy Kids movie, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, because that hits home to my childhood. The dynamic between Ant-Man and his daughter in this movie was it was great how Ant-Man's daughter basically was doing all the things you'd think a young Ant-Man would do based on he's basically a smart criminal that's smart when he needs to be for the things that he wants, but he's overall not really thinking ahead. Like, he's not thinking 5 steps, 10 steps ahead like a Tony is, or even like a Captain America is. He's more or less thinking of like the now, how do I get to the next thing? Oh, I gotta do this. Okay, I'll figure that out. Okay, I did that. All right, now I got the thing, and now I gotta go on to the next thing. And that's kind of how he operates. That's exactly how his daughter operates in the movie. I thought that was great. MODOK was kind of weak. I thought the ending part where he was sort of forgiven was shit. I thought they should have just fucking killed him and left him as a bad guy. I thought MODOK as a character was fine until he got killed. The whole guy I thought was okay. Yeah, all of the side characters were like B tier, like 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 characters, but I thought the dynamic between a lot of the characters were really well done. I really thought Shang, was that his name? No, it was Kang. That was the name. Kang, I thought was fantastic. He had so much aura in this movie as a first-time watcher. Going into this, dude, the brainstorm was cool, but yeah, Kang felt threatening. He was like a nice guy. JK, I'm actually a dickhead. A lot of plot twist villains at this point, so it kind of gets taxing, but I thought it was great. Um, Better than Dark World? I'd say so. I think this had the most character development for Ant-Man than the other films. I thought it just this is a great this is like an S tier 9.9 out of 10 family movie, but as a movie on its own with a little bit of kid humor here and there, it does degrade it a little bit, but I think like dude, with the family, this movie's probably fantastic. This is a theater movie 100%. I feel like it would have been electric to see this as a kid. We're going to move on. Thor Love and Thunder. I liked Gore. Hot take. I thought Gore was fantastic in this movie. I think he's top 5 MCU villains. Maybe top 10. I thought he was actually threatening. I thought he was cool when they were on the dark planet and everything was black and white was cool. Only thing that sucked about this movie was the gods and the jokes, but I didn't really. Where the fuck was Ragnarok? Where the fuck did I put Ragnarok? Okay, hold on. All right, I'm tripping. It's been there the whole time. I'm just fucking blind. All right, we're gonna we're gonna do Ragnarok before we do Love and Thunder. Spoiler: I really liked Love and Thunder. Ragnarok, I didn't like as much. I think it's the weakest Thor movie because Thor is a bumbling. When I think of it's a Thor movie, I'm gonna see character development. I'm gonna see Thor do shit. I'm gonna see some cool stuff around Thor and his lore, and really see him complete his character. This is the third movie. This is gonna be great. Can't wait. Um, Everything other than Thor was great in this movie. Like Hela was cool. Loki was pretty all right. Nah, he was pretty good. Um, the side characters, can't remember Korg. He was good. The the fucking guy, the collector, I don't remember his name. He was pretty good. As Guardians, they were cool. But dude, Thor was shit in this movie. He was a bumbling idiot. He was crying about his hair getting cut off. He was throwing a ball in his face, not realizing there's fucking glass. Like, oh man. Did he beat Hulk in the ones? Yeah. But this was honestly more of a Hulk movie. You got more character development with the Hulk than you did Thor. Thor basically went from I know everything, big baby, to by the end of it being I know everything, but now I have thunder power, big baby. And that's all that changed. It was really like weird the tone shift they took from Dark World being like, okay, I'm the leader I'm supposed to be. I'm almost ready for the throne, but let me go protect these people and learn a little bit more. And then he's just this fucking when don't cut my hair. Oh, I'm gonna take you, and then gets fucking shocked or captured by those people or whatever by a drunk Valkyrie. The Valkyrie story was half cooked. Like there was a lot of things I didn't like about the movie as a whole. The characters I thought were fine, but it's like the way they meshed all the characters together I thought was terrible. Other than Thor, but it being a Thor movie and Thor being just an idiot in most of the movie like really pissed me off as a Thor enjoyer. So I'm gonna probably rate him. I think I'm gonna. Man, I really didn't like Thor, but the movie was good. Like the arena was cool. Hello was cool. I'm gonna rate it lower than the Eternals, to be honest with you. Like I really didn't fuck with it. I don't think I laughed once in the movie. No, I laughed at one thing Hulk did. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought this movie is a lot better than people say. The jokes didn't hit as much, but I laughed way more at Love and Thunder than I did Ragnarok. Um, there's a few ones that weren't really that good, like the joke where he flew into the statue or whatever. I thought that was dumb. Um, yeah. Gore was pretty cool. I really fucked with Gore when he summoned all the fucking demons or the shadow things, whatever. I thought was sick. Him being the God Butcher, killing the God in the beginning, and then off screen he kills a bunch. I would have liked to see him kill more gods on screen, but I thought it was okay. And when his whole redemption thing at the end, I thought worked okay. Like it just barely landed the plane. I would say it's probably about Far From Home tier. So whatever you rate like Far From Home, I reckon like Thor might just be below it slightly. Far From Home's probably a little bit more funnier, I'd say. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Uh, I'll put it just below Dark World. I probably rate these all the same, to be honest. Thor Dark World, Thor Love and Thunder, Thor Dark World, Quantumania, like Thor really like dude, the Mary Jane stuff or not Mary Jane, what was her name? Isn't it also MJ, but it's something different? I can't remember. Regardless, when she had cancer and everything, I thought that was a great concept. That was the second or most emotional moment I was with the cancer thing and her wanting to live and, Thor dealing with that. Like, I thought that was great. The only thing that sucked about the movie was really that God council thing. I thought Zeus was a bumbling idiot, but other than that, I thought it was pretty good. We're gonna move on. Deadpool Wolverine. This was a great movie. It's just a great watch. Everything about it's pretty good. I don't know if this is MCU or not, but it's on the MCU timeline on the Disney Plus, so I put it here. I'll put it above Civil. I'll put it here. I think that's fair. I think it's great. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Not much to say. It's just a fun movie to watch. Deadpool's fun. The other Deadpools I didn't put here, I guess, but they're all relatively the same. I thought Deadpool 1 and 2 were pretty close in terms of quality. I thought they're both like 9s. I'd probably put them just below Deadpool Wolverine personally. They're a little bit of their own thing because they're more of an M-rated movie. We're gonna move on though. Brave New World. Actually, yeah, Brave New World. We'll just do it. When they get out into the ocean halfway through this movie, the movie is like an 8 out of 10. All right. When they're out in the ocean, they're flying the Falcon and Falcon Jr., whatever the fuck his name is. Captain America and the Falcon, I guess. The new Falcon and the new Captain America. I thought it was fine. Falcon getting the shield, I don't mind. I'm not a stickler. I don't really care. First half of the movie is boring as fuck. The first half of the movie, I was like, dude, this might be the worst movie of the MCU. But the second half really carried. I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of. I'm gonna put it like. Yeah, it's like better than Black Panther. I'm gonna actually move this down. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm more comfortable with this. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. Um, it was good. It had its moments at the end. Bucky was there, which was cool and fun, which led into a movie we'll get into, probably one of the last ones. But yeah, I thought it was a solid movie at the end. If I didn't know because I've seen advertisements and I've seen spoilers of like thumbnails and shit of Red Hulk. If I didn't see Red Hulk in the show or in the movie and I went into this and the gamma's being built up and it's like, "Oh my god, what's about to happen? Is he just going to fucking become a nuke?" And he ends up becoming a Hulk. For the thinker, I thought that was like a one of the best plot twists they could have done. But the fact that it was just marketed everywhere really brought it down. So I'm gonna put it just below Black Panther. I'd definitely rather watch Black Panther over Brave New World again. I'd probably watch. Nah, yeah. We're gonna move on. The Marvels. Slightly better than slightly worse than Captain Marvel. Definitely more of a girls' movie. I'm not opposed to it. Okay. Um, it's watchable. It's not like garbage. It's not horrendous. The villain is terrible. The villain's the worst villain in the MCU. I can't think of a single thing they do that's impactful other than pick up a rock. And they're the least threatening villain I've seen. They don't have any memorable dialogue. They don't have any memorable moments. And I just watched this like a week ago. So I don't know. Like it's a shit villain. The idea of them being tethered together because they share a link, I thought was a cool idea. Didn't really work too well. The way they figured it out altogether was fine. I'm sure a show probably explains it better, and that might amplify this. to be better than Captain Marvel, but I can't imagine like watching a show would make me be like, wow, this is a goated show. You know, I just don't really see it. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Fantastic Four, I think, is the latest one in terms of timeline. It's solid. I'm a little lower on this than I thought I would have been. I enjoyed the dynamic between the four. I thought the Thing, and Johnny, which I think is the Flame On guy, I thought that dynamic was fantastic. I thought them all arguing and trying to be like a big brother slash dad at the end and putting the cartridge on. Them basically developing all of the modern technology of their world, I thought was a great idea. Getting all the world to work together was a weird way to go about things, and how it also didn't really work in the end was kind of dumb, and the way the ending played out, I thought was dumb. Silver Surfer, baddie, wood, smash, smash. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, Fantastic Four is good. Like, it's good. It's not like bad, but it like the ending really like it was setting up to be something so fantastic, and just the ending being like, oh, you took the kid, Ooga Booga Rage. I have psychic power OP, and I die, and baby res me. Like, bro, like that's I saw that from a mile away, you know? Like she died at the end of it. Like before she even died, she started going supernova or fucking like super psychic power, and she was pushing down the god, Eater of Worlds, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is like she's going to die, and then like the baby's secret power is going to be self-res or something like that." And lo and behold, that's what it was. I thought it was lame. You know, there's a way you could maybe explain it. Oh, well, fucking Mr. Fantastic went to the back and opened the valve, and that weakened him, and that's why the psychic powers were more effective, because he was weakened because he had all that magma come from his back, or whatever the fuck. You could maybe argue that. I just wouldn't. But yeah, I thought Pedro Pascal actually was fine as Reed Richards. Susan Storm, or Susan, I think, I can't remember her name. Susan, whatever the fuck. Invisible Girl was fine. Um, yeah, there was great moments in the film. I think it would. This is a movie that if this was, I think it's a 2 hour long movie. If this was a 3 hour like Batman style movie, where it was just long, but you got more character development with the Thing. You got more character development on why Mr. Flame On is so attracted to a Steel Surfer. I think that would have really amplified this to a Civil War tier, but I'm not gonna put it that high. I'm gonna leave it down here. It was good. Would rewatch. Maybe like a 6 out of 10 movie. Not my favorite, and a little lower than I was expecting. We're gonna move on to the very last one. One I'm very happy with. Thunderbolts. Genuinely one of the best movies out of the MCU. I think MCU wise, let's remove like the Spider-Mans. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd put it here. Yeah, man. Like, dude, this movie really fucks. Yelena was the glow up from this to Black Widow is insane. The acting was better, the character was better. Red Guardian was fantastic in this movie. He was funny. I laughed a lot. Fucking Bob's an absolute G. The backstory, the way they work together. I'm sure watching shows, because I'm pretty sure two of the characters in the main cast were from shows, and I haven't seen it yet. Ghost and the other one. I think Ghost is a part of a show. And the fucking Captain America Timu version. I think they're part of shows. Regardless, I thought the Void was sick. Sentry was sick. This was like Thunderbolts was the Suicide Squad, but for Marvel, and I love that. I thought it was fantastic. Tackled harder issues, on the nose issues, funny, great cinema, top to bottom. Interested in the whole movie. I thought it was great. I don't think there's a single bad thing about the Thunderbolts. Yeah, I really don't. I can't think of anything really bad about the Thunderbolts. Maybe it's that at the end, they didn't really do much with Bob and his whole voidness, because he can't really use his powers, otherwise he becomes the void, or whatever the concept was there. Um, But outside of that, man, like, dude, it really is a good movie. Like, every character got screen time, every character got development. Maybe a little bit more time with Ghost would have been nice because Ghost kind of got sidelined for more of it. But maybe that's because she's in the show. I really don't know. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. But yeah, that's been my tier list of the MCU movie. I've ranked every single MCU movie. There's Punisher One Last Kill. I'll probably watch that. Maybe do a separate thing for that. This was my first time watching it. Did I regret it? No. Was it a long journey? Yes. Will I be continue watching it? AKA, am I excited for Brand New Day? Yes. Am I excited for Avengers Doomsday? Yes. Am I still a casual? Probably. I don't read the comics. I'm not going to get into the comics, but these are cool. All right. I've always seen myself as more of a DC guy. Definitely a little bit more of a Marvel guy right now. I'm going to wait for James Gunn to get the DCU cooking. Big fan of the Batman, but I think a lot of these movies speak for themselves. I have a hard time thinking you come out of watching any of these movies being like they're a pile of dog shit like The Rise of Skywalker, which Star Wars is my GOAT, one of my favorites of all time, favorite franchises of all time. MCU was fantastic. I'm very happy with most of the movies. I think a lot of the modern stuff gets a lot of hate, and I think a lot of the old stuff kind of is underrated in a way. And that's my personal opinion. Of course, I'm just like new to this scene. Maybe these opinions change over time, but for now, this is what it sits as I've watched all of the MCU movies. If you made it to the end of this long ass video, I want to thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have a good day.